You'll
This
note that it
conference
is
will now be recorded.
6:07 p.m. We are recording. And so the committee members who are here are Paula Bew and Jim Nikas. And if we'd like to do any introductions between the two of them, or if there are any other folks in the room who'd like to go around and introduce themselves, this would be a time to do that. Anna, did you want to say who you are?
Did you unmute him?
I have unmuted everybody, I thought. Everybody who wants to be unmuted is unmuted for the moment. So if you'd like to introduce yourself. We have Anna. We have Brittany Israel.
We have Diane Berry. We have Suzette Ferguson and Kathy Lazari.
Thank you. So introductions. So we had this is an overview of GoToMeeting, which is not working extremely well for me right at the moment. But I did.
Julia,
yes.
I just want to introduce myself.
Yes.
I thought there might be like a roll call, say the name and introduce yourself, but my name is Chad Washington and I'm representing Greenwood Resources.
Okay. Thank you. So anyway, we're just going through and looking at GoToMeeting, and I have my screen is shared so that you can see that we're onto the introductions and onto the part about how to use this. And mostly it's pretty easy. This is my first time sharing my screen and trying to kind of facilitate a meeting. But you have the ability to use this chat button over here to enter a message and send it. If you are muted and you want to get someone's attention, you can do that. This button tells you who is present. And at this point, we have pretty much everybody. I think I have everybody signed in. I think, Chad, you were the last to introduce yourself. Some people have not unmuted themselves, and that's fine. So anyway, hello?
Julia. Hi, this is Gail Henderson. I'm the Community Development Director. I just want to point out, Julia, that what we're seeing on your screen, what you're pointing at, is not translating to what people are seeing. So you may actually have to describe the little icon that you're pointing at and roughly where it is on your screen.
Okay, the little icon that I'm pointing at is a chat bubble in the upper right-hand corner. If you look in the upper right, you'll see some different options. One of them is 4 squares, and that'll show you then basically everybody who's present, and you can use the one next to it is for people, and it's got the number 12 next to it. If you do that, you'll actually have a list of names. And next to that is a chat bubble. And if you use the chat bubble, then you can enter a message down below and hit send, and we can see what it is that you need to say. Especially this is helpful if you are muted. So that's basically the overview. That is really pretty much how it works. This is an electronic format that the county has chosen to use. So this is the one that we are using at this time. They had other options. I think that our IT department looked at several other options, including Zoom and some other things. And this, for whatever reason, is the one they selected. One of the things about GoToMeeting that's really helpful, and this is true in all of these different formats, is to keep yourself muted unless you are actually speaking, because otherwise we pick up all the background noise and we get a lot of feedback. So if you could mute yourself unless you're speaking, that would be very helpful to everybody else. So unless you have questions about GoToMeeting, I think really the easiest thing is to just use it and get used to it. Unless you have questions about that, I'm happy to go to just kind of an update on the schedule and where we are in the world right at the moment with COVID-19 and how everybody's doing and how it's interrupted the schedule for what we're up to. Let me bring something over else onto my screen. This is our new revised schedule as of June 2020. And as you can see, we've had to stretch things out a little bit. The January, we were planning to take a hiatus in January, February, and March of this year and work on goals, the revisions to goals 1 through 4. So we got a little extra time that we had not counted on. So we are picking up now in June. Goals 1 through 4 have been submitted to DLCD, and these are the revisions and the drafts, really. All of these are drafts. Nothing is fixed in stone in any way, shape, or form. These are all drafts and works in progress and may bear not a whole lot of resemblance to what the final will be, but we did solicit comment from the public, and we are soliciting comment from DLCD. They have returned comment to us on goals 1, 3, and 4. Goal 2 is still with them. So we are looking at coming back in July and beginning work on goal 5. And if you are looking at it, you can see on my screen that we anticipate goal 5 is going to take July, August, and September. It's going to take a while. So we'll be getting those materials out to the committee. And then that's another thing I wanted to mention to you. We have decided not to inundate committee members with quite so much material. So rather than give you 200 or 300 pages of background materials, we'll be cutting that down to a 6, 7, maybe an 8-page background report, and then providing you links for a deep dive if you are interested in a particular project or, pardon me, a particular topic. Then you can go and check it out for yourself and look at some of the tremendous amount of background materials that are available. But we will focus more on the worksheets that we have been giving you and asking you to really focus on filling those out prior to the meetings and focusing down so that we can move through this material in a timely fashion, but also to just really focus on what is in these goals and what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And Gail has sent a message saying that the Department of Land Conservation and Development offered to provide a courtesy review of the first rough drafts. These are not final drafts. Yes, they are not final drafts. The goals can be reviewed on the county webpage. So we are planning to, as I said, pick up with goal 5 in next month in July. And as you can see, we are now looking at, and we're really being kind of probably optimistic here, December of 2022, December, to be finally through with all of this. So I'm going to move this off the screen now. So that was the revised time frame. It's we've done some work during the hiatus. We do have the remainder of the plan. One thing that we're looking at doing is establishing the regular meeting date and time for our members of our committee, which is the Lewis and Clark Olney-Woluski Community Advisory Committee. I've only got a couple of folks here this evening, so perhaps they would like me to send out a doodle poll to everybody. But let me first ask Paula and Jim, is this day working for you?
Sure.
So if Thursday is okay with you, Paula?
Julia, Mike Magyar has also arrived now.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Magyar. Mike, I had gotten to the point in the meeting where I was asking whether or not the fourth Thursday of the month continued to be good for everybody, or if you guys wanted to reconsider your meetings, dates and times. Okay, Mike, if you're speaking, I cannot hear you. I can hear Jim.
I'm here.
Okay, Mike, I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Um, hmm. So I guess probably what we'll go ahead and do is send out a doodle poll and check with the committee about continuing with whether you want to continue with your time on as 6 p.m. on the fourth Thursday, or if you'd like to change dates or change times. So I'll send out a poll and ask you that. Julia, I called in and you can't hear me. That's Mr. Magyar, but on my phone. One moment, folks.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, well, there it is.
Awesome. You're caller 15.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I'm sitting at.
Would you like to chair the meeting now?
Sure. How's everybody doing? That's great. I'm here at the computer so I can see what you're presenting. I just happen to be driving in from a project, so I got a little late. I was on the phone as I was driving down Youngs River Road, and I was in and out of cell service. So I'm glad I'm here now.
Yes. Well,
So I'm going to go back on mute here for unless you need me to do something.
Well, what I was going to do was have the committee do a doodle poll, set one up tomorrow, and ask the committee to do a doodle poll and consider whether or not the date and time continue to be good for the committee members or not. And I had just done a brief overview of where we are. And so anyway, honestly, we're getting close to this and asking for public comment and input, which I would be happy to have you chair.
That sounds great.
Okay. So I'll do
I
a
like
doodle
the
poll.
doodle poll. Doodle poll is perfect.
Okay, excellent. In that case, I think you're on to public comment and input.
Okay, this is Catherine Lazari, and I have a couple questions. One, the doodle poll. How would we get notification as residents out here in Lewis and Clark of the next meeting?
So the next meetings are always going to be publicized. They are going to be on the internet. If you would like to be someone who receives notice of a meeting via the internet, via email, then go ahead and shoot me an email tomorrow, and I will just include you in a list of folks who receive information.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, what is this Lewis and Clark project's official name, and what goal number is it?
Well, this is the this is the Lewis and Clark Olney Waleski Citizens Advisory Committee, and this committee is in the process of reviewing the entire comprehensive plan, goals 1 through 18, minus the goals that don't apply to this county, and then also the community plan for Olney Waleski.
So are there any specific just to the Lewis and Clark Main Line Road area that we can kind of focus on?
This is countywide. When we get to the end, we'll be working on the specific community plans.
Okay.
But right now we're countywide.
Okay.
Julia, can you explain to everyone about the different planning areas and how the county's divided up? Because people may not be familiar with that.
Sure. So Clatsop County has 6 different, let me see if I can pull it up here. We have 6 different planning areas, and this is on my screen. The Northeast area, which is basically kind of from the Astoria city limits and south quite a ways, and then all the way to the county line. We have the Southwest Coastal Planning Area, which is mostly the Arch Cape. It's basically Cannon Beach south to the county line. And then we have Elsie Jewell, Seaside Rural, the Lewis and Clark only Woluski one, and the Clatsop Plains, which of course is Warrenton down to the Cannon Beach Junction. So we have those planning areas, and each one of those is got its own community plan. So this one, I'm clicking. We're going to have something happen here. There we go. Lists all of the community plan for this area, and this is all on the internet. I am actually on the county website right now, so anybody can look at this. You are free to look at this all evening, but it goes through the different sub areas, different concerns, public facilities, open spaces, parks, recreation, preservation, and each of the community plans has similar things that they cover, but each one is unique because each of these areas is unique. And I don't have a chance to be able to get to a really good map right now to show you each of them, but that
Actually,
is
if you
kind
go,
of an overview.
Julia, if you scroll back up and
I
click on the
can.
Planning Commission button on the right-hand side.
Planning Commission button.
Yeah. Up. The other
Up.
links, there's Planning Commission, yeah.
There. Ah, excellent. Those are your community plan areas. Thank you, Gail. So as you can see, Lewis and Clark, pretty good sized. It's this whole valley area.
Okay, I can see that.
Highway 22.
And you mentioned goal 1 was community involvement, and that you've already done part of goal 1. Was that my understanding?
Right. We've started goal 1. We've started drafting goal 1. We started on drafts of it, so there's drafts of it circulating.
Okay, where can I find a draft of that, since I am part of the community that should be involved?
That is back a page.
Yeah, and this is Gail Hendrickson again, the Community Development Director. If you can find your chat box, I did put the link to the draft goals in the chat box. I don't know if everybody can see that, but they are on the county's webpage. If you go to our Community Development Department to land use planning, and usually when we have the meetings in person, we have a sign-in sheet, and we can get your email, we can get your address, we can mail you things and email you things. I did put Julia Decker's email address in here as well. So you can email things, a request to her to be put on our mailing list and our contact list. But everything that we have done, all the minutes, the agendas, the background documents, any drafts of anything, notices, everything is on this comprehensive plan update webpage on the county's website.
Do you mind if I ask notices to who? You mentioned notices, but nobody out here has gotten any kind of notices about any of this project.
Yeah, so we have not done a mass mailing to every resident in the county. We were actually planning a postcard before we went into lockdown, and once all the committees establish a regular meeting date and time, then we do plan on sending a meeting notice to all quarterly with the meeting dates to everybody in the county, unincorporated areas. We have relied on newspaper ads, radio ads, public notices on KMUN. We also rely on some hand posted notices at local businesses down in Miles Crossing that we put up when we did our open houses. We also are encouraging our committee members who are really our liaisons to the community because they are your neighbors. We're relying on them to help spread the word. We've got a Facebook page as well. So, you know, again.
Can you let me know what that Facebook page is named?
Yeah, it's CLATSUP CD for Community Development.
Okay. I can tell you that most of the residents out here in one of the areas that is going to be majorly affected by one of your plans regarding putting in a county road on Main Line. Most of the residents out here were not even aware that this was taking place. A lot of people don't get the newspaper. So just to let you know that your community involvement isn't working very well. You're not getting a response from us because we're not aware of what's going on.
Okay, so the mainline project that's going on is not part of the comp plan update. So that's a separate project, completely independent of anything that we're doing. Then that project is being handled by the Public Works Department. And we are not involved in that. So I know that there has been a lot of concern raised by the residents in the area, and I know that Public Works and Commissioner Webb, who was on the call, if she's still here, may want to address this, because I know that she's spoken with many of you and also has concerns about doing some more outreach for that particular project. And Commissioner Webb, if you're still here, would you like to say anything?
Can you tell me why this is a separate plan?
Yeah, so we're two independent departments. Public Works handles road building, road repair, bridge repair, dam repair, maintenance, those things. We are looking at, from our community development, we're really looking at how land is used. There should be more coordination between the two departments. I don't disagree. They have talked to us because they want to do this main line as a emergency lifeline route, an alternate route in case of a disaster. That's their primary goal in looking at that.
Okay, so this is community development because you're talking about repair and maintenance, but that's not what this is. This plan is not repair and maintenance. It's devising a whole new county road and open to the public, not just for emergencies, open to the public at all times. That's a whole different thing.
I understand that, yes. So Public Works, again, for whatever reason, they are the ones who are tasked by county management with this project. So I'd be happy to talk to you more. I'll put my phone number up here. Everybody is free to call me. Again, though, it is through the Public Works Department, and I'm only minimally familiar with the project that they're proposing, and we've not really been involved with their day-to-day activity in putting that project together.
So at some point, this is going to become community development instead of Public Works repair and maintenance. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, we will never be involved in this project unless they need some sort of change to the zoning code or to the comprehensive plan. So if they need to come in and make a change so that they are able to build the road there, then they would come to us. But we don't get involved in telling them. We rely on them to tell us where they have a need to construct the roads because that's their expertise and specialty. They're the engineers of the county, basically.
Okay, I think you just answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And I did put my email address up here and my phone number. And I welcome everybody who has questions. Please call me or email me. I'm always happy to talk to you or with you.
Hi, Gail. This is Chad Washington. I just had a question regarding the comments back from the DLCD. I was wondering if the county's legal advisor has had a chance to review those comments and if any changes have been made to address those concerns.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. We did send them to County Council. She has not finished her review of them. Once she has finished it, then what we'll do is we'll put together basically a table that got the proposed policies that were in the first draft. And those policies came from all the different citizen advisory committees throughout the county. So it's not just from your particular planning area group. It's from the people down in Arch Cape and the people out in Napa and people out in Jewel. So we took everybody's comments, and even if they were contradictory to each other, we put them all together because that was what we were given as the beginning part of the process. So we'll take those policies that are just kind of the whole big grab bag of things, and then we'll make a table that's got the comments that came back from the state. We'll have a column that has the comments that come back from our legal counsel, and then we'll have another column for all the public comments that we get, so that when it goes back to the different citizen advisory committees for them to look at, they can see, you know, what all the different comments say. I'm going to be upfront. There are some things that people from different committees have suggested be included in the comp plan that we're just not going to be able to do just because there are state laws that won't let us do some of the things that people have suggested that be included in the plan. Did that answer your question, Chad?
Yeah, I think that clarification is helpful. And there was just some that I noticed that would be in violation of state as well as federal laws. So I'm just glad that that's being addressed and communicated back to the advisory groups. I just want to make sure that this remains a conversation around land use planning, and we're working on things that are within our purview.
Okay, Mike, I guess it's back to you to see if there's any more public comment.
Okay, thanks, Gail. I really appreciate people speaking up and providing comments without the general public voicing their interest. These kinds of events aren't nearly as successful, and so I'm happy to see a lot of people out here. Some names that I don't recognize or I haven't seen at previous meetings. So I'm sure that you guys had all of your introductions early on. Does anybody else have any questions for Gail or Julia? Okay.
I have one more question. Is there a place on the website in this comp plan that we can see the different citizen advisory committee meetings? Will that be posted there, or is it really just best to reach out to Julia to get on the mailing list?
Yeah, the meetings, go ahead, Julia.
Oh, I was going to say, so right here, I hope you can see my screen. This is on the county's webpage. So if you go to the county's webpage and click on departments, and then you come down to Land Use Planning Division, it will take you to the department homepage. And from there, you'll see the department homepage, but also this drop down. And from there, you can click on Comprehensive Plan. And here are all of the citizen advisory committees, the public open houses. I'm just going to click on the Lewis and Clark Advisory Committee page. And from here, you have access to the supporting documents that have gone out, the audio visual from the previous meetings, minutes, and the agendas. And that's on the county's webpage 24/7, 365.
That's
And that
perfect,
page,
Julia.
that
Thank
page
you.
will be growing. We're just going to keep adding to it.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's really helpful. And will that also have the proposed dates and links to future meetings?
Right, that would be under your agendas. You'd be able to look at any upcoming agendas. So, for example, here's this evening's agenda. Also, if you want to look at upcoming meetings, you can go, I want to, and then come over to events and meetings and click on agendas and minutes. And I'll just click there real fast so that you can see the format. And You can select the dates and times, the departments, what kind of boards you want to look for. They're all here, or you can just, peruse. I mean, some people are meeting junkies and they just like to go to meetings. Anyway, it's all here.
That's a great little tutorial. Thank you for showing us that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Julia. I just wanted to comment and say that I've been very proud of the group of people that have showed up at these meetings. We've met several times, and the discussions are great. And this is really your democracy under a microscope. I mean, this is really where the rubber meets the road for a lot of our lives. We have opportunities to provide feedback to the county, to provide feedback to the Planning Commission. This is where we as a community get to decide how we want our lives to be over the next several years and decades. So I recommend that if people have the opportunity and the interest to at least sit in and listen. If you don't have any comments, that's great. But this is the process. This is the nuts and bolts, and it's not terribly pretty. And some of the language in these reports can be daunting if you're not well versed in this kind of thing. But this process is, I think it's been handled really, really well by Gail and Julia and others at the county. They've done a fantastic job with their organization and providing information. And I just hope a lot of people will participate in this process down the road. If you have any friends who like this kind of stuff, please let them know. We've had pretty good turnouts at some of our meetings, but we'd always like to see more people from the community. So that's just my little, I'll get off of my soapbox there and leave any more questions to the people visiting, or turn it over to Gail and Julia to close it out.
Okay, I'm not hearing anyone
Hello?
else. Hello.
Hello, this is Linda Brim. So I have a question, and that is in understanding the nuts and bolts of the process that County Works would have in going through developing the road that we're concerned about. You stated that they would, at the time they were wanting to push forward with that, you would have to give your blessing as a planning commission. Is that correct? Or the planning commission would have to endorse that. You would be driving some of the public input on that. Where is your involvement in that? I'm muddy on that.
Okay, so this is Gail Hendrickson again. So what is most likely going to happen is Public Works is going to have to submit an application for something that's called a goal exception. And a goal exception is when you ask to be to have your property basically exempted from from the requirements of one of the comprehensive plan goals. So it's a big process. It would come to us as a regular application, us being planning staff. We would write a report and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission would then make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. And once that was done, then the state Department of Land Conservation and Development would also have to review and give their approval to it as well. So it's a multi-step process with public input all the way. So at this point, they being Public Works have not submitted any applications to do anything yet. They've been asking us questions and talking about it, but they have not submitted anything to us. So,
Okay.
does that address your question?
Still a bit muddy, but that I can see that it's a very lengthy process. So until it gets to planning, there really isn't, you are not actually going to be doing any designating of what happens out here as far as development on that particular piece.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, that's helpful, thank you.
This is Catherine Lazari again. So how does the public get, because you did mention the public comments and stuff, how does the public get notified of each phase of this stage?
Okay, so when and if Public Works submits an application to us, we will send out a public notice. The minimum distance that we would send it would be within 750 feet of the entire length of the route. So every property owner who's within 750 feet of the proposed roadway would get a notice. In a project where something is more likely to be controversial, and as this one probably is going to be, we would probably up that distance. We also we post the projects when they come in on our website, and again, the same location where Julia's at, that same web page. We run an ad before the Planning Commission in the newspaper. I think that's all that we're doing. We post notices physically in the county building for people who are coming in and out of the department. But those are the primary ways.
So basically, we have to be looking in the newspaper every day, looking on your county website every day.
Not
and then
necessarily. Well, if you're within the notice area, you would get a mailed notice.
Okay, and that's going to be my next question. You say 750 feet, but then you said you can extend it. So are you just kind of making up a number as you go along, or is there a standard that you have to go by? Because you're talking about a road that's going to affect people a lot further than 750 feet.
So normally, we would do just the 750 feet. We try to capture as many property owners as we can. Obviously, we have not done a new road like this, so this is a little bit different type of situation. So at that point, then we're going to have to rethink our noticing because obviously 750 feet or 3,000 feet isn't going to cut it. It's going to be a much bigger issue.
Well, the issue is it's rural, so a lot of this property is pasture land, potentially. So yeah, you have to be thinking in terms of rural. So yes, those numbers are rather small. 750 feet is kind of silly.
Yeah, and we've heard that from other areas in the county, other citizens as well. So this is an ongoing issue that we need to take care of.
All right, thanks, Gail, for chiming in on that. I realize this isn't really the forum for discussing that particular project.
This is Julia.
However, I do appreciate.
This is Julia.
Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
I'm seeing a question here from Anna in the chat box, and she's asking why we were told, why were we told by a commissioner that they are trying to buy all the property mainline right now? And that's not a question that anybody in the community development department could possibly answer. So I would probably refer you to the commissioner or refer you to Public Works on that.
All right, not to throw Ted McLean under the bus, but the Public Works Director is Ted McLean, and I just put his email out there as well.
I'd just like to make a comment that, something that would be maybe more related to what the Citizen Advisory Committee is kind of directed to do would be to address issues of like development around that road. So trying to keep forests as forest lands, limiting residential dwellings and areas that are zoned as forest. And it's really more of a land use planning kind of long-term document and less of a specific road type of action.
Thanks, Chad. That's exactly correct. I think that you sort of summed up the nature of this group. We're looking at long-term ideas, very, very coarse. We're not addressing specific projects at all. We don't really have any authority to be tasked with such a thing. We're just looking at ideas for a long-term comprehensive plan for the county. This roadway would never come up in our discussion unless some people just felt like talking about it for some reason. We don't have any authority to either comment or discuss it. I mean, that's just, thanks for that comment, Chad.
At this point.
That could also be why it's being proposed at this time.
Yeah, this committee is tasked with kind of larger scale, long-term planning, and that specific job should definitely be brought up with Public Works, and then figure out, when is the public comment period. I'd also recommend you reach out to your, elected officials, the commissioners. Those are the people that are going to have the final say on a specific project. And since they're elected officials, they're supposed to represent their constituents. And so maybe that would be a good place to direct specific questions, but things closer to like, do we ever want to allow apartment buildings to be built on those forest lands adjacent to that road? That would be more under this citizen advisory committee saying we want to make sure that zoned forest lands we recommend are never allowed exceptions to become residential. Things like that would be more in the purview of this committee, and the Public Works or your elected officials would be a great place to deliver your comments regarding that specific road project.
I can assure you, we have commented to all of them. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions about this particular committee, the agenda, any minutes or anything that's happened in the past or in the future outside of the Lewis and Clark main line? Okay, sounds good. Where are we at here, Julia and Gail? Any other closing comments?
This is Julia. I'll get a doodle poll out to the committee members regarding your meeting date, probably tomorrow. And anybody who would like to receive notices regarding this committee's activities or what they're doing when they're meeting, please feel free to give me an email or give me a phone call, co.clatsop.or.us, and our telephone number is 503-325-8611. Just let me know that you would like to be on the mailing list and you'll get notices.
Julie, I've got one more comment about that specific project. There's so much interest and so many stakeholders that will be affected by that. It might be worth recommending to Public Works to create a mailing list so that everybody who's interested in updates regarding that specific project could access them easily and be well informed. Government is supposed to be transparent, and if folks want to, take the time to get involved, it might be worth Public Works creating a way to make that a little easier for everybody.
That would be an excellent idea, because otherwise we are going to have to do this on our own, and it's making it a little bit more difficult, but we are doing it.
This is Julia again. We'll go ahead and let Public Works know that there is a tremendous amount of interest and that they might be interested in creating a mailing list of their own.
Yeah, and I've already, while we've been talking, or you've been talking and I've been listening, I've already sent Public Works an email saying we need to get together and figure out how to coordinate them and how can we help them in their messaging and meetings and things. So.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, this is Mike again. It looks like we're winding down with comments, and if Julia or Gail has anything further to add beyond the doodle poll and the great proactive reaching out to the Clatsop County Public Works to help the citizens get involved. Nobody has anything else to say. I guess I might gavel this meeting out. All right. Well, that closes it. Great. Thanks for Julia and Gail for getting involved, and thanks for County for putting together this go-to meeting platform for us. This will be really interesting. And I'm going to put my name and email here as well. Let me just do this. You can reach me here if you have any comments or questions. I don't really do anything, so I can just maybe point you to Gail and Julia for the most part. But there it is. I'll gavel it out. Everybody have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.